Hi guys, this video is going to be about how to photograph the Northern Lights. A few months ago, probably just over a year ago actually, I went to Norway and I went to a place called Tromsø and I was lucky enough to see the Northern Lights, and it really is, it is a phenomenon. It's just jaw-droppingly amazing when you see it. Now obviously the factors have got to be right. There's a number of things that conspire against you to, for your dream not to happen. For example, it has to be quite cold, it has to be completely clear sky, no cloud whatsoever, or very minimal cloud. There has to be no moon in the sky, and not a lot of light pollution. All these factors have to be right. But you've obviously got to put yourself in the right place. You've obviously got to get to the Arctic Circle, or just below. You can actually see them, in Scotland every now and again. So just think about getting yourself into the right place first of all, and literally with your composition, think about how you can really tell the viewer the story of what you've seen. So as I said, I was in northern Norway for this. I was in a place called Tromsø, which is one of the most northerly towns in the world. So it's a city, I think. Yes, it actually is a city, but it's very small. It's a very, very lovely place to go. I was lucky enough to do some couch surfing when I went there, hence the ridiculously amazing location that I was sleeping in, which was my point of view here. I was sleeping on a boat, and I want to show you a few pictures of the one night on the 23rd of November 2014 when I saw the Northern Lights. So if I just scroll through them, this is my favourite picture. I've edited this a little bit, and if I go on to develop, you'll be able to see that this is what it looked like before, and this is after. So I didn't make a lot of difference. I've just enhanced the vividity. I don't think that's a word. The saturation of the actual lights. So I've made them look slightly more green. I've sharpened the sky to make the stars ping out a little bit more, and obviously I've done a little bit of the trees and the mountain in the background, and I've just enhanced the clarity of the water a little bit as well. So again, not the best location for Northern Light spotting, because it's full of light pollution, as you can see, but that didn't really seem to matter that night. So first of all, I want to talk about the two things that you absolutely have to have. The first one, you have to have a fully manual camera. So maybe with your DSLR, you can't take a phone camera and expect to see the Northern Lights. I don't know if many phone cameras, or any phone cameras, I might be wrong, could even pick up the sensitivity of this. It might be possible, I'm not sure, but take a fully manual camera, you'll have a much better chance. And secondly, you need a sturdy tripod. You need something still to put your camera on. So even if it's, maybe I might have to improvise. I've done this thousands of times. You find a bin, or you find a bollard in the road, or you get down low and you keep the camera still. As long as that camera's not moving, that's fine. You can't hand-hold this, because you will get camera shake. Even the steadiest pilots in the world with the steadiest hands won't be able to achieve this. So you absolutely need a tripod, or at least to keep the camera still. So let's talk about settings then. So for this shot, which is my favourite, if I jump over to the library module in Lightroom, you can see that on the 23rd of November, it was 7:30 at night, 7:33, and I'd chosen an ISO of 800. I therefore chose my aperture at 2.8, and then that allowed me to shoot for 5 seconds. Now, I know you're probably thinking, well, why don't you just expose for longer? Then you'll probably get more light trails in the sky. Well, this is what happens if you do that. So this one here was ISO 800, 30-second exposure at f4. Now, because I exposed for so long, I didn't capture can't really think of the word, but the lights are so punchy when they move. They're so quick. I've never seen anything move so quickly in my life. It really is like, when you catch dust particles in the sunlight and you blow them and they just sort of move everywhere. It's a bit like that, but on a much bigger, more amazing I can't believe I just compared the Northern Lights to some dust and dead skin floating around. But in many ways, that's very much what the Northern Lights is, or are. They're particles of solar dust and solar winds that are just getting blown around the atmosphere. But yeah, so don't do long exposures. You might get lucky if you have a ridiculously amazing show of lights, but just to keep it safe, keep your aperture as wide open as possible. You'll want your aperture stop right down to, if you've got a big lens at 1.2, then you'll have a much better chance of getting it than if you've got an f4 lens. I took my Tokina 2.8, which is 11-16, which is ultra wide, and on my 7D, this is what I achieved. So it's very, very achievable if you've got a decent lens. Your shutter speed, don't expose for too long, and your ISO, yeah, you can even ramp up your ISO right up to over the 2000s, into the, you could probably do, but one thing to keep in mind is if you're not on a full frame camera, then you will compromise quality if you ramp up your ISO. So for me, because I was on a 7D, which is not a full frame, a Canon 7D, then I chose to have ISO 800, where I know it's pretty good, and that sensitivity is it's fairly high. So yeah, think about that. So the final thing or maybe the first thing you really need to consider is your composition. So I'm not saying these compositions are amazing, but I think they at least tell the story of the event that I was shooting. As you can see, these unreal kind of lights were just sort of coming out of nowhere, just coming from beyond that mountain. That's maybe just getting you to think, what is behind that mountain? Like some sort of UFO. I don't know what comes after that sentence. UFO warehouse. I don't know. But yeah, you can really think about. You can really create a lot of drama. Now, one thing you need to get away from is obviously light pollution. If you can get right out into the sticks of Finland, Norway, Sweden, in Svalbard, Greenland, Alaska, Canada, you can get some amazing shots. So I one day will return to the Arctic Circle, and I will probably try and better what I've already done. So that's all for now. That's what I really wanted to just drum home, that the Northern Lights are there, that a lot of the time there is activity, probably in places like in Tromsø, activity is probably something like 200 days out of 365 days a year. I could be wrong, but certainly it was pretty active that night. The one thing you've got to do is keep your eyes open. So don't think that this lasts all night long. This show, I mean, if I show you these, so if you look at the time on the side, it's 7:33, and then this is, that's 30 seconds later from that to that. Look how much that's moved. And then this is 10 minutes later, so it's even stronger. And then I thought it'd be a good idea 15 minutes later to get on the road to a really cool location that I'd found, this nice lake. And then I left the shutter open for a bit longer because I thought I'd be able to cover more lights. But it didn't. It just didn't. The lights just didn't play ball. So it was a combination of me exposing too long and the lights were just fading. They were fading pretty fast. I mean, to give you an idea of temperature, it was probably about -7, something like that, -8. And there was not a cloud in the sky. There was zero wind, as I remember. Perfect conditions. And it was great for about half an hour. So what I thought was, what time did the sun set? So it set that day about 3 o'clock, 2:30. So about 5 hours later, 5 hours later, the show came. So I thought, well, when it's 5 hours before sunrise? Sunrise was, let's say, 10 o'clock. So I set my alarm for 5 a.m., 5 hours earlier, to see if I could see something, to see if it was something to do with that. I got up and there were lights. There were a show of lights. So they weren't as vivid as this. It was even colder, but I got out of bed and stayed out of bed for an hour, made a little time lapse that I haven't properly made. But again, you can do it. So just try and keep your eyes open and try and look for these lights, because unless you're with people who will tell you, look quick, they're outside, you won't see them. So you've got to go and hunt for these lights. So I hope you've learned something about how to photograph the Northern Lights. One day I will return, but send me your photos. I would absolutely love to see your pics. And if you've got any tips and stories about how you captured yours, I'd love to hear them. So good luck hunting for your Northern Lights, for the tricky lady. But yeah, thanks very much. Check out my website, www.andrewmaguire.co.uk. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, like, and please comment. Thanks very much, everyone. Thank you.